No, it's not just about the money, Gary. I'm Andrei Mincov, the founder of Trademark Factory, and in this video, I'm going to share my thoughts about what Gary Vee just said about him being okay with others stealing his intellectual property. Now, let's watch a few snippets from his recent post.
In NBA 2K, I'm the first trainer ever to have my own character in 2K.
That's crazy.
So, which is cool. Yeah, my tattoo's on there, and
Okay, so somebody's got tattoos stolen. Somebody tattooed some of the images, right? And artists are suing,
left and right.
right?
Artists
Okay.
are trying to sue for their art on people's body when then it goes into games or movies and stuff.
Okay.
It's a really interesting thing. If you go down that route, they're gonna blur it out.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Now what? How'd you get put on in the first place?
Facts.
That's a legitimate
You know how many
question.
people run Gary Vee accounts on YouTube pre-roll and make money on my... Do you know how many people strip all my content, set up a separate YouTube account that they own, and run ads against my
Right.
and make money? A lot. You know who's the happiest of it? Me. I'm getting the exposure. Keep the pennies. I'll take the dollars.
Yeah.
Well, he actually makes a pretty good point, but I want to make it clear so that everyone understands that intellectual property, trademarks, copyrights, patents, is not just about the money. It's actually not about the money, period. What it is about is control. When you own something, you control how others can use it. So it's then up to the owner of that intellectual property to decide whether they're okay with others using it without permission or not. So with Gary, he says, look, I'm okay with that. Yes, they're stripping my content. Yes, in theory, I own the right to go after them. But what they are doing, all those people who are trying to take a free ride on my name and get a little bit of money from YouTube by running ads, right? Just the AdSense money, which is pennies. What they're really doing is they're giving me more exposure. They're making my name even more known, and that brings me real money from my real businesses. That's what Gary Vee says, and I totally respect that. But really, as long as it's the intellectual property owner's decision that, yeah, it's okay, you can do whatever. I'm just gonna sit here and watch you make pennies as I make dollars. That's perfectly fine. What is not okay is the advocacy against intellectual property laws, because somehow people feel that they're entitled to use other people's intellectual property. That's wrong, because that takes away control from whoever created that. If that person is okay with you using their stuff, great. If they're not okay with you using their stuff, don't use it. Or else they should have all the legal tools to go after you and make your life miserable. So, you know, as I mentioned in the very opening of this, it's not just about the money. And I'm sure it's not just about the money for Gary, but I wanted to make this point very clear that just because it's not proper for some people to enforce their intellectual property doesn't mean that others shouldn't be able to, right? And from there, you can make your own decisions what you want to do with that. It's much better, you know, intellectual property is like a gun. It's much better to own it and never have to use it than find yourself in a situation when you need one and you don't have it, right? So when you start a business, when you go out there to the battlefield and compete with others who also do the same thing, or compete for people's attention, even if they're in a different industry, you need to have all the tools that you can get to build that competitive advantage. And that's what intellectual property does for you. And then once you have that tool, it's up to you to decide what you're going to do with it. Are you going to just keep it and not use it? Are you going to use it actively? Or are you actually going to build a team of lawyers and send them every time somebody does something wrong? It's usually a combination, really, in terms of you evaluating what's it going to do for your business, because intellectual property is not the end in and of itself. It's a means to an end, right? Intellectual property is only as valuable as the business that you're using it for. So if enforcing your intellectual property makes your business better, then go and enforce it. If it doesn't, then don't. But unless you have secured it, you don't have that option. So make sure that when you're building something, when you create something, whether you generate content or whether you create brands or whether you invent products, make sure that you give yourself an opportunity to choose whether you want to enforce it or not. Really, when we start a business, it's all about freedom, it's all about choice. And I'm sure Gary Vee would agree with me that it's all about freedom to choose. And you don't have that freedom to choose if you don't properly protect your IP. So if you've got a brand that you're building for your business, you gotta protect it, even if you're perfectly okay with others setting up other YouTube channels and making pennies while you're making dollars. You still want to own that brand. You still want to be able to shut them down the second you feel that you're no longer benefiting from that exposure that those other people are giving you. That's my 2 cents. And if you found this video interesting, make sure you subscribe, because I post videos about trademarks, branding, and intellectual property every single day. So if you like this one, there'll be others you'll like as well. And make sure you click that notification bell, because that's how you get notified whenever the next one goes live and what it's about. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.